Everyone's highly anticipated film of the year, Deadpool and Wolverine, just released in theaters. So today, I thought it was time for me to stop and talk about Deadpool and Wolverine. Please know that everything that I will say in this video is just my very own opinion. My name is SW Nation. You are free to comment down below your very own thoughts on Deadpool and Wolverine. Please don't forget to check out that Twitter. That link is in the description along with that TikTok. That link is also in the description as well. With all that being said, guys, let's get right into our review.
Let's fucking go!
Let's fucking go.
This was my most highly anticipated film of the year, along with my most highly anticipated comic book film of the year. So with all that being said, let's move right into the good. And the good thing that comes to mind here is that I can't even lie. I had a blast. I walked out of this theater, and you know, the people that I went to the movies with, I went for my friend's birthday, and the people that I went with, they were asking me, so what do you think? Because they know I do this YouTube stuff, and I was like, I think it was pretty good, but I don't have any negatives so far. Like, I have to write it out. I have to think about it, because I walked out of the movie feeling so indifferent about it, but also having such a blast and having a huge smile on my face the entire time. I mean, come on, it's freaking Deadpool and Wolverine. Of course I was gonna have a blast. Of course I was gonna have a great time, and I'm pretty sure if you're watching this video, you had a great time as well. So right out of the gate, as a huge fan of Marvel films since I was 6 years old, I'm talking about Ang Lee Hulk. I had that DVD. I'm talking about early X-Men like X2, the first X-Men. And let's not forget Fantastic Four. I was a big fan of them before I was X-Men. And my whole introduction to comic book movies in general was Spider-Man 2. That was my first Marvel movie that I ever watched. That was the first comic book movie I ever watched. As a huge fan of Marvel movies since I was 6 years old, this movie is all around love letter to those films, to that era. This movie pays tribute to those films that paved the way for the MCU to happen. And that right there is what truly got me happy about the film coming out of it. Whether you're talking about the 20th Century Fox logo in the background, of action sequences, or even just the tribute cameos, it all pulled on my heartstrings and had me on the verge of man tears. In terms of everyone's question, how does this affect Logan's legacy and Wolverine's death? Well, in the film, they make it clear that they know what we're thinking, and their solution to that problem is that Wolverine is dead, and we bring in a different Wolverine. Albeit they've done this storyline with this character many times before, so you can kind of understand where it's going the moment that he's introduced on screen. But do I care? No, because Hugh Jackman brings so much to the character, so much sincerity, that with every line of dialogue, albeit it is very much reminiscent of our Wolverine, he brings it with such sincerity that you believe everything that they say happened to this Wolverine and his world. Along with that, he's with Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool, who also brings his A game. You know, they try to give him more of a serious arc here that I appreciated, but it's always kind of weird to have Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool be serious and be emotional, and they hit in the moment, but you know that there's a joke coming right around the corner. So I liked Hugh Jackman's Wolverine kind of counterbalancing that. Going back to Deadpool's serious arc, its setup is goofy. Like, the entire setup, the entire basis for what happens in Deadpool's life, and this is not a spoiler because this was announced. I mean, I knew this going into it. Vanessa and Wade are not together. The reason why Wade and Vanessa breaks up is, albeit it's fun, but very silly. It's very goofy in terms, so they try to make a serious arc out of this goofiness, and it's all in line with the character, but when you take away everything, it's goofy. It doesn't make any sense. But do I care though? No, because the trailers gave me exactly what this film is. You get exactly what you came for. They actually say it in the movie. Give the people what they came for. Deadpool and Wolverine. You get the fights, you get the banter, you get the bromance. All of it works. It's so much fun, and it's just pure comic book fan service. It's pure Marvel fan service. It's right along the lines with Spider-Man No Way Home. I know a lot of people have said that this is the movie that they wanted to get instead of Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. But mind you, Multiverse of Madness didn't promote itself as what this movie promoted itself as. This movie, along with the other Deadpool films, have always had this irreverent humor about them. So when you see inside of the set photos, Sabretooth from the 2000s, you see the 20th Century Fox logo in action sequences. The movie promoted itself as that. So when it comes to that argument about this is what Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness should have been, no, that movie was all about multiverse, but it was about the horror side of the multiverse. This one is more about the fun side, paying tribute to that era of comic book films, and they promoted the film as that, so you get that inside of the movie. This movie is not cameo palooza, it's not a cameo fest, and they're great. They all pay tribute to the different eras of Marvel films. It's kind of amazing how Deadpool this movie truly is. The fact that Disney and Marvel allowed them to poke fun at so much, including the failures of the MCU lately. I mean, they're even poking fun at some personal lives in there, with Hugh Jackman's personal life, with Ryan Reynolds' personal life. Nothing is off limits inside of this film, and I think that worked perfectly for it. The film is definitely bigger and bolder than the previous two because of the Mouse House big bucks, and they truly utilize it. They do some great things with the action. I think Sean Levy did a fantastic job filming the action, directing the action, and I expected nothing less from this guy because he did direct Free Guy. I thought Free Guy was freaking incredible. It was such a blast. I love Free Guy, and I think that's what made me more excited about this film. I knew that he was going to be able to deliver this film. I knew that from the opening sequence. I mean, just going off script here, the opening sequence is freaking incredible. It's unbelievable how incredible Sean Levy took control of this film from the moment it started to when it ended. This is also a big film for comic book fans. I went to the film with my friend who's friends with a comic book fan. Afterwards, me and him were sitting there talking. He was spewing out comic book lore that I had no idea about, that I didn't even know that they were doing. It's just a whole lot of fun sitting there talking to someone who speaks English about this comic book movie stuff and these comic book stuff and not feel ashamed to nerd out about it. But again, it pays tribute to the comic books in a way that the MCU rarely does. And lastly, it wouldn't be a Deadpool film without some laughs. So many of the jokes here, like I said before, they work on prior knowledge to Marvel, to comics, as well as the real world issues with the actors. I mean, there are many jokes poking fun at Hugh Jackman and his divorce, but also Ryan Reynolds and where he's from. But another big question is that, does it save the MCU? I'm here to tell you no, it does not save the MCU. So with that being said, let's move right into the bad. And seriously, the bad thing that comes to mind here, and you know, it's never a great thing to walk out of a film and be like, that was the worst thing that I saw in the movie ever. That was the worst thing about the movie. I hated that part. Like, it's heartbreaking to come out of a movie like Deadpool and Wolverine and be like, oh, they gotta be some type of bad. I legitimately did not have any negatives when I walked out of it. You know, before the film came out, they did some interviews where they said that the villain is kind of a villain that you can get on the side of. I don't see that at all here. She has a very cool power set though. You know, nobody ever thinks of the foil inside of a Deadpool and Wolverine movie. But there's nothing interesting about her plan or her plot at all, really. Like, unfortunately, it just doesn't matter. She doesn't matter, and her plan is almost non-existent. Additionally, the film lags a bit in the finale. A lot of it is dumb and a lot of it is fun. But overall, the final battle is a gag. And, you know, when I was watching it, I'm like, okay, that's great, but wait a minute, yeah, why didn't I think of that? Yeah, that's stupid. We made a big moment about this. But, I mean, look. So then, when the final battle ends, it's like, that was dumb. It was fun. I enjoyed seeing that. Yeah, I enjoyed seeing the novelty of that. But that was pretty dumb. And throughout the film, there were a lot of moments that hit me that way. That was pretty dumb. But I enjoyed that. I enjoyed seeing that. Cool beans. But then again, you don't go inside of a Deadpool and Wolverine movie expecting to see interesting villains or an interesting story. You're here to see Deadpool and Wolverine banter and fight. The story is very poor, but they do find a way to bring Wolverine back, which I appreciated. That made sense to me. Actually, the way that they do it makes total sense to me. Makes more sense. They do a better job with explaining the multiverse inside of this film than they have ever done inside of any MCU film. This plot is just so straightforward, and it's just so simple. In conclusion, Deadpool and Wolverine delivered everything the trailers provided, but also a little bit more that I was not expecting at all. In particular, the cameos. There were cameos that I were totally expecting that I even called out. There were cameos that I was just shocked that they even happened. And there were other cameos that I was just very much pleased with. But for the most part, as a fan of Marvel films since he was 6 years old, Spider-Man 2 being his first Marvel film ever, Iron Man 2 being his first MCU film, the X-Men, X2, first X-Men films, Fantastic Four, I was a big fan of them before X-Men. This was a treat. It's a tribute to those films. It's a tribute to that era that defined my childhood. On a critical note, I wanted more from a story level. It is simple. It's straightforward. You don't go inside of this movie expecting a intricate story. The whole movie is fun, but there are moments I wanted to skip over than others. I'm going to give Deadpool and Wolverine an A and a 9.3 out of 10. I don't know if it's the best Deadpool film. It's definitely up there. I don't think it's better than No Way Home. I really love Deadpool and Wolverine. I just wanted just a little bit more. Overall, it's an X-Men fan's dream. Alright guys, that is it for the review. Please know that everything that I did say in this video was just my very own opinion, and you are free to comment down below. What did you think of Deadpool and Wolverine? Please don't forget to check out that Twitter and that TikTok link. Those are in the description, as well as that Marvel playlist. That link is also in the description as well. And all that being said, guys, like, comment, and subscribe. Come back later for, more Deadpool and Wolverine reviews and rankings. And I will see you all next time. Peace.